Very good afternoon, everybody. One of the endeavors that Bajaj Allianz has been that we should make insurance simple to everybody. And that is why we started this Demystify insurance series. This will be the fourth in line. That the interesting thing is when I look at my friends, I look at myself also. I think we spend a lot of time trying to understand what is the best investment that we should put our money in, and that would give us about 8 to 9% return. Then we spend a lot of time to see how do we save tax, what is the best policies to buy for that. That will also give us some protection. But something which has the potential to wipe out our earning of at least 10 to years, on that we don't spend much time. And it is not that there's something wrong. I think across the country or to some part of the world, we don't spend enough time in understanding insurance. Insurance, again, if I look at the documents, it's just about 2 or 3 page contract. Pretty simple to understand. Though, if I look at the old contracts, it's pretty complicated because we use the legal words which had, in fact, to understand, I had to read the paragraph at least 2 or 3 times. But the industry as a whole has now pretty well simplified the things and the covers and what is covered, what is not covered. But when it comes to a claim or a customer expectations, at times I see this as a miss. At times this happens because we have not gone through those 2 page documents. This is our responsibility to ensure that as customers you understand what you are buying. But as customer also, something which you are buying or investing in which is going to save or be of help to you in times of need is very critical to understand this well. As Bajaj Allianz, it's an endeavor to ensure that we can demystify the insurance to you. Today, the topic is health. Health in the past 6-7 years has been the fastest growing segment in the insurance industry in India. It has a CAGR over 25%. In fact, potentially in 10 years' time, health would be bigger than motor in terms of insurance. But even now, if you look at the penetration of health insurance in India, it is just about 10% of people who can afford health insurance. In the lower strata of the society, in fact, it's better because the government schemes is over 40%. But in the middle class and the upper middle class and the HNI segment, it's very low. It's about just 3 to 4%. Surprising, seeing the fact that if you look at hospitals where the billing happens, you have 80% people who don't have health cover, and out of that, 30-40% are selling the jewelries to pay off. Not a very good sign. So I'm looking forward to a good interaction. I have a panel experts with me whom I introduce now, and we're all there to help you understand health insurance better. To begin with, I'd like to introduce first Mr. Bomi Bote, who is the CEO of Grant Medical Foundation and the Ruby Hall Clinic. For those of you who are from Pune and surrounding areas, you know how famous the Ruby Hospital is, one of the leading hospitals in this area. And for those of you across the world, this is one hospital which has built a benchmark in terms of service to customers, in terms of bringing new technology for treatment, and is respected name in the industry of healthcare. But more than that, the best part I like is, if I look at Mr. Bhome Bote, he is one person who's been awarded by 2 presidents of India, right from Mr. Abdul Kalam to Ms. Pratibha Patil. Mr. Bhome Bote, it's such a pleasure to have you with us. And how does it feel to be awarded by 2 presidents of India? I think you'll be one of the rare people who will be having this distinction in the country.
Thank you very much. Thank you, and welcome to all the other members of the panel. It's indeed a pleasure to interact with all of you, and this has in fact been one of my favorite subjects. How do we extend healthcare to the last person living in our city? And the answer is purely insurance. I mean, we cannot depend on the government, we cannot depend on subsidies from the corporation, things like that, but we have to figure out a way of extending insurance to the last guy, finding ways and means of getting every single person to get a cover done. So I would welcome this panel discussion, and I would really be interested in coming out with solutions and suggestions which will help people like you all to reach out to the last individual in every city.
Mr. Bote, we share your passion, and I love to hear this because this is a dream for me too. I believe that as an insurance professional, I have failed till I increase the penetration of health insurance in my country and increase it to a level where I don't see people selling jewelry or land to pay off hospital bills. You know, if anything else we can compromise, we can compromise the food also or for the way we live. But when it comes to medical expense for our loved ones, and that is one time we don't want to compromise, but then the best should be provided to them. And we don't have a good health cover, can be very, in terms of monetary loss, a huge loss. And I know people who had cancer in my own family, and the entire cost of that was 40 lakhs. And you can imagine for a middle class family to shell out 40 lakh rupees would mean what? And after the entire struggle, because it did not save the boy. But that was one day when I realized that as an insurance professional, I have to ensure that such things should not happen in India and the family. We should have a good health cover for everybody. So I share the passion of Mr. Bote, and it's close to my heart. I move on to the king for us, Mr. Uday Shashi Kumar Nair. First and foremost, I say the king for us because he's my customer. And to me, all the customers are kings and the most beloved designation that they can have. But in addition to this, is also the head for Asia Pacific sales for Spectrum Corporation. That sounds interesting, but more than that, I guess his passion for cooking, his passion for photography, an avid traveler. How do you do all this, Shashi Kumar? It's very impressive, and so good to have you here with us.
Sure, thank you very much. First of all, I like the way you introduced me. Customer is the king. This is, as I can say, it's a very cliched line which many brands use, but I think this is the first time where I've been invited in any of the customer interactions program. So hats off to the marketing team as well as all the team in Bajaj Allianz who have actually made this possible. I'm a customer of Bajaj Allianz not just by paying the premiums, but I have got very good experience when actually when the health insurance is actually needed, that is during the claims process. So you can say I'm a very satisfied customer of Bajaj Allianz, and I've been with you for around 5 years now. To my advisor, Mr. Sachin, just to show, just to give you an idea about how a normal business relation matures, is Sachin came to me as a advisor for health insurance, but now he's in my friend list. So that goes to show how strong your people have been in creating the relations. So from customer's perspective, I would like to give you hats off for that, and hopefully you will continue this to the rest of the customers also, and continue to serve the people here. It's a pleasure being here, and I'm a sales guy, so it's in my blood to do a lot of things. So photography, cooking are some of the therapeutic things which I do to make myself calm. And I'm happy to be here in the panel with a lot of dignitaries around here. Once again, thank you very much for calling me in, and if anyone is having any questions regarding from the customer perspective, I'll be very happy to answer them.
Thank you. And if you watch, if I put in the Indian perspective, we have about 6.5 kings, queens, emperors, and emperors for us in our books. That is the number of customers we have currently, and we have about 11,000 Sachins who are ready to go out and make it convenient for you as brand ambassador of the company. And that's why I moved to Sachin next. Sachin is our advisor. He is very closely associated with Bajaj Allianz. I think he owns the brand more than anybody else I have seen, and he's so passionate about the company and about the products. And for those of you, just a small background, he actually belongs to a business family, and he started the insurance as a part-time just to see if he supplement some for his pocket money. But he loved it so much that now this is his full-time occupation, and he is widely respected in the industry, and the passion he has for insurance is something which I like, because insurance to me is not only about business, but about social cause also. Because when you give claims, and for those of you who don't agree with the statement, please join me at times when we give claims to people who have misfortune, and you see the way they bless us for providing service. I think for that day, I do my work and my living to see how much and how many people can we help. Sachin, over to you. Thank you for joining us today.
So firstly, thank you for inviting me. Like people like Vijay are the customers, but for me, this is close to my heart. Actually, while doing business, I earn money, but by doing insurance and that's Allianz, I've made good friends for life, which we have shared some good bad moments with each other, and so it's basically dealing to harm. Business is basically dealing in money, but here we build relationships. So that's what I love about it. Thank you so much for having me.
Now I move over to someone who has been in journalism for the past 10 years. And to those who do not know this, one of my dreams was to become a journalist. And that's why when I interact with journalists, I feel very happy about it, because I think that is something which I always want to do. And when I was writing for my college magazines, the only dream I had was to become a journalist and bring out news and being in the newspaper and write about what can be done. But obviously, that one dream of mine I could not fulfill, but does not mean I fulfilled. So, Aparna, after I die, I still enter into the journalist world. But I admire all of you who do this, who bring the news to every person in India. We talk about things which are fast-breaking and make a big difference to the Indian thought process. I have seen that you have been working into the financial sector for quite some time and you're expert in these fields. We are so delighted to have you here in the panel. Welcome, Aparna.
Yeah, thank you so much and a warm welcome to you all. It's nice to be part of this distinguished panel and I thank you for giving this opportunity. And I like to add on to what you and the other panelists said. I think health insurance today is at a tipping point, and the regulator has already initiated in terms of setting up a hospital registry, and I think that was much needed. There was a certain delay in that. The push has come from insurers who are battling, high claims ratio. But I think that is the first step. It will ultimately benefit customers also, because you're going to have a gradation of hospitals and, price band for common surgeries and procedures. And that's very important because medical emergencies come unannounced. And like a friend, whose father recently underwent a heart attack, she just said, if he sees the bill, he'll get another attack. So, yeah, jokes apart, but I think it does show the seriousness and, customers ultimately should know what they are in for, how much they're going to price. There will be, of course, some plus and minus here and there, but I think we are at an interesting stage. Also, in terms of new products, you talked about HNI and all that. I think some of it is also beginning to happen in terms of higher sum insured. So I think we are at an interesting stage. Thank you.
Aparna, my statement was right. And the in-depth knowledge that you have about what's happening in the insurance field and health is amazing. I think yes, we are very happy with the regulator. I think happy for two reasons. If I look at the product approvals have been pretty good now, and if I look at our product that have got approved recently, it now covers the HNI also and it covers specific plans of surgery, and the entire gambit of it has been going good. And I'm also happy about the statement that you made in terms of health insurance being something which is very critical and people should look at it. Because people like you spread the message which becomes very critical for the industry as a whole. So thank you for that, Aparna. I now move on to my own team, and first one, that is Suresh. Suresh Suganathan, he has been with us from inception, and currently he heads our health for the company. In his tenure, the health portfolio of the company has moved up very well. In fact, he would be handling a huge number of lives and giving service to them. And not because he's on screen, but I'm happy to announce that if you look at the NPS score or the customer feedback, Bajaj Allianz Health Department is rated as one of the best in terms of servicing to the customer, which gives me immense pride. And Suresh Suganathan is the man behind this. Very happy to have you here, Suresh.
Thank you, sir. And good afternoon to all the other panel members. Yes, health insurance is no more at a crossroad. Like what we used to say, health was never a priority in the initial days. To look at the numbers. Now, today, the awareness has gone up, and precisely that is the reason why we all are here discussing and trying to demystify this particular insurance line. As far as the customer is concerned, for us at Bajaj Allianz, as a team, we have always tried to connect with the customers emotionally, and we always believe that we are not doing it with that emotional touch, then health insurance, we are not addressing the real or core issues. So we have been able to do it, try to improve it further based on the feedback we continuously take from our customers, receive from our customers and IMBs. And even in this, during the course of this discussion, I'm sure that we'll get more suggestions which we would like to build in our products, our processes, and also the customer service and the grievance handling process what we follow here in our organization. Thank you once again for the insight what we received from the other panel members, the more which we'll be receiving now. Thank you.
Good, Suresh. And now I move on to the person on my right. Right is just incidental, though he's also my right hand, I would say. The CTO of the company, Ramalingam, is also rated as the best underwriter in the insurance industry. He has been instrumental in providing this backup for the best products that we have, the underwriting that we have. And upon now, we're one of the rare companies which would still be making money in the health insurance and also capturing good market share. So at times, the value for money and the delivery does make a big difference. So the man who does this all, Rama.
Thank you, Tapan, and good afternoon to all the panelists. I'm sure that as we go forward during the course of the day, we'll have very interesting questions coming up. For us, health is a very important line of business. As in the last 5 years, as Tapan said, the growth has been phenomenal there. The issue with health has always been more emotional, how we handle the cashless requests, how we handle the claims. There is much more emotional connect related to health. And our endeavor is to ensure that the customer gets the best service, he is satisfied at the end of the day, and we contribute to him in whatever way we can do, so that in case of any crisis, his sufferings are reduced to the greatest extent. Our endeavor is to ensure that at the end of the day, the customers do propagate our policies by word of mouth to other customers, and we are able to grow this line of business in a much bigger way. And if you look at our track record for the last couple of years, we have been doing well, and with the support of every one of you, I think we should be able to do better. Thank you.
So we'll start with a couple of questions which come on screen, and then I move to the panel and ask them for their queries and questions, or what is their opinion, and then we look at it. First, I see from Brijesh from Mumbai. Brijesh, you have mentioned that what is critical illness cover? Should one buy it over and above his health policy? That's a very good question, Brijesh, because if you look at the health policies which are available in the market, there's a huge gamut of it. I would say not less than 10 to 15 different kinds of health covers which would be available. And at times it can get confusing. Now, if I have to give my opinion on this as to how I would take a cover, what I would do is I would have a basic cover for, let's say, in our case, it's a health card cover, which is a hospitalization cover, and I would take that cover for 2 lakh rupees, because for any normal hospitalization which I may have, that would take care for about 1.5 lakh rupees. Then on top of it, I would actually look for a surgical cover to the tune of about 10 lakh rupees, because the cost of the surgical cover is lower than the health card, and it will cover about 600 surgeries which would be there at different levels. And again, it's like when a surgery is to be taking place, the sum insured is which can get paid to hospitals directly and is cashless and is renewable for life. On top of that, take a critical illness cover for the 16 major illnesses which should be there. Because in critical illness, the way the cover triggers is that if a person survives after detection for a month, then the entire sum insured is paid, and that can go up to 50 lakh rupees. And if I have a major illness, be it cancer, which will require a lot of money, and I get that money, I can get myself treated anywhere in the world. Though I would strongly recommend India, because I see that the Indian doctors and Indian hospitals are really world class now, and I see a lot of foreigners coming to India for treatment. So this would be the cover I would take on pure health. I'd also add hospital cash on top of it. Hospital cash typically is a per day allowance policy. So if I admitted for 10 days and if I taken a 1500 per day cover, I get 15,000 rupees irrespective of bills. That is for my incidental expenses. So that is the way I would structure my policy in terms of taking health cover. So and it will be optimizing the cost, and it also be providing me a very comprehensive cover. So I would strongly recommend that you should take a critical illness cover even if you have a health policy, because those are major illnesses which cost a lot of money for good treatment. Next is Vishal from Pune. He says, should we have accident insurance when you already have a health insurance cover? I'm happy, Vishal, that you already have a health insurance cover. This is very good. But the interesting part is, if I look at most of our accident insurance, they don't have health cover. Now, accident insurance covers are different required. One, the premium is very, very low for accident insurance. Just to give an idea, for a 1 lakh cover and a pure death only cover of accident insurance, it will be just about 45 rupees for a year. Is that cheap? But the issue of accident insurance is that what is not covered in health is, it is a roadside. If I'm driving on the road and I meet an accident and I have a permanent disablement, or if I die due to accident, then the entire premium or the sum insured which I have opted for gets paid. And in fact, it gets paid faster than any other policy that I have, because the only requirement for that is a post-mortem report. So in about 7 days or 8 days, money gets paid, and that would be some relief to my family, which would be immediately coming up. So in a way, accident insurance is different from the health insurance which is there, and that is why one should have that. In fact, you should take a very good cover of it. I recommend it for all my people and all my customers whom I meet, because if I look at it from a perspective that something goes wrong at my age, I think the probability of an accident is higher than anything else, and that would be a relief to my family immediately. Before I move to the next one, I would request if Sachin, you have any question from your side to ask us as an advisor to our customers.
So the new products that we have coming up with, the new products that we have coming, I think that's a good option. It can be an add-on, it could be a top-up for any other policies that people may have with us, or any other insurer. So it comes at a good price. I think people should go in for that also.
Yeah, fair. And I'm happy to see, Sachin, that you also find, because you do a comparison of different companies and you rate those products good. I would also like to move to Dr. Mr. Bote. What is your opinion, Mr. Bote? Are the insurance companies playing the adequate role, or they should do something more which they are missing out from a customer perspective that you would be noticing, since you run such a magnificent hospital?
Yeah, I put it this way. Again, I'm not being personal about any individual company, or my general opinion is there is a tremendous scope of improvement and reduction in the cost of treatment possible if the insurance companies process the documentation more efficiently. I'm glad to say this does not apply to Bajaj Allianz. They have been outstandingly efficient and benchmark standards of documentation. Yes, I agree. But if you look at most of the other insurance companies, claims don't get settled fast, patients need to overstay, charges get inflated, and the pricing of the entire package goes up. All of it is purely due to inefficiency in documentation. Now that is one area if the insurance companies can concentrate on, There is no reason why when I do a banking transaction, I do it online with my bank. Why can't a hospital and an insurance company have an online transaction? Now, typically, I'll put it this way. When a claim is sent out, say at 4 o'clock or 5 o'clock in the evening, for a surgery the next day, invariably the approval does not come. The surgery gets delayed. The patient has to overstay. His bill goes up, his claim goes up, everything goes up. I'll tell you, our major dissatisfaction of our customers normally occur when they are discharged and have to go home from an insurance company. If they're based on Mediclaim. Their maximum displeasure comes only when they have to go home, because the whole process is so laborious, so tedious. Can't we find a better and a more transparent way of settling things and getting a patient to go home satisfied?
Mr. Bhuta, I'm so happy to have you today. No, honestly, I think all the statement you made is exceptional, and this is an eye-opener for the entire industry. I hope, and I'm sure that it's in the tipping of the statement to all the CEOs. In fact,
I always tell these insurance companies, your claims, if you're more efficient, can come down by at least 15 to 20%. If you are more efficient in your documentation process, there is no reason why your entire claim should not come down by at least 50%.
Yes, Mr. Bhuta, and at the end of the day, this inefficiency has to be paid by the common man on the street. So it's shameful that no, this is where it is. And I'm so happy that you have brought this to the front. It's a very burning question. And I'd also like to ask Rama and Suresh, because I think in our company, one of the endeavors has been to ensure that the documentation is minimal and the speed is fast. The team has been telling me that they're reaching this online status that you're asking for. Rama, what are you doing on this? Because I think Mr. Bhuta is a very relevant point. And because the inefficiency of insurance companies, the common man should not be paying for it. No, so this is something which we should as industry also. And I'd like to hear your view as what are you doing for taking this.
Sure, sir. I think, as I said in the initial stage itself, for us, the customer satisfaction is a paramount thing for us. Even today, if you look at the regulator has given nearly 14 days of time for settlement of claims. But our average turnaround time for settlement of claims is between 8 to 9 days, which is one of the best that we see. It's not that we want to rest on those laurels. We are trying to keep on improving our processes to see that how fast we can reduce the turnaround time. One of the new things that we have come across in the last 6 months, which we have initiated, is the image-based claim settlement, where the papers don't necessarily have to travel from, let's say, from one city to Pune headquarters where all the claims are being settled. We are trying to ensure that all image-based paperwork comes to the claims team, they do the processing, and that has actually helped us save at least 3 days of time to ensure that we are able to have a faster settlement of claims. So this is one of the initiatives that we have done last year.
Sounds good, Rama. I'm still dissatisfied. Just because we are better than competition does not mean we have reached there. I want to read the status where Mr. Bhote has mentioned it should like a transaction is across. No?
Can I interrupt for a minute?
Yeah. Yes, please.
If you don't mind.
No, Mr. Bhote, we welcome it.
You take a clue from the bank. Take a clue from a credit card, the way a transaction takes place. Their volumes are 100 times more than what you are handling. But look at the efficiency with which it functions today. You swipe a credit card, you get an SMS immediately telling you what's happened. Now come back to your insurance sector. If I have a policy for 2 lakhs of rupees, I undergo a surgery, I get an approval for 20,000. Again my work stops because 20,000 has run out. Then I again put up an approval for another 50,000. Again I get an approval for 30,000. So in the process now, if a person needs to undergo, say, a bypass surgery, he ends up with approvals 3 to 4 times during his stay. Now everybody knows that a bypass surgery is going to cost you so much. I'm only using bypass as an example. Why should we have stage by stage approval? Don't forget, every time you run out of credit, procedure stops, work stops, treatment stops. and it starts again once the approval comes. Now what is happening is the patient stay is getting prolonged, his expense is getting inflated, and again let me tell you, the largest level of dissatisfaction if a patient in a hospital, any hospital around India, is a medical patient. Like I said, he goes through trauma when he gets discharged. Can we not have a system of making it easier? Why can't we all have, I'll give you an example. Why can't all the insurance companies have one template which is used by everybody? Every insurance company has a different template. Why can't we have a paperless system of doing functioning approvals? These are, I think there's tremendous amount of opportunity available for improvement, and all these improvements are going to end up in the cost coming down for the customer, a cost coming down for the patient, and satisfaction of the patient, which we are all working here for.
Mr. Bhote, I'd just like to add one more thing to what you just said. I think it's also a product which has to be, on that basis. In fact, that is why if I look at recently, and exactly what I had in mind, we have come up with a surgical protection cover.
I must congratulate you. I got it yesterday, and I think it is on the right track and absolutely correct. Now, only one thing you need to do is when you come out on a surgical package, you need to differentiate and fix a percentage. What would be the professional fee and what would be the hospital element or the other? That is one thing that you need to still fix it. Because what is going to happen, otherwise people are going to charge over and above that separately.
Exactly, but that is why the issue that you had of partial approval disappears in this, because the entire sum insured can get paid and the customer and the hospital are aware of what the cover, and they get the best of cover. Your point taken, and though, as Rama said, we have moved on from paper into image-based, but I love the idea you mentioned about the industry coming up with common documents. Being an active member of the Council of General Insurance, in fact, I'm going to talk to the Secretary General also and ensure that the next meeting or the meeting which is convenient for both the Council and you, invite you to speak on these points to the CEOs of the industry, and as I said, also ensure that your message is sent to all of them, because it's very relevant and I think very good points put in forward by you. As I told for my team, though they beat the market by hours and days in terms of service parameters, but we want to reach a place, though it will not be as easy as credit card because there will be some requirement of understanding, because the credit card, the basics is known earlier. We have reached very close to that is what my belief is, and it's good for putting this benchmark. The promise to you and all my customers, we shall push our limits to reach to that stage where the customer really enjoys the experience of having a health cover from Bajaj Allianz. Thank you very much. I now move on to Aparna, because I think Aparna, the way you have been looking at the industry and seen the progress, and you have seen the status where, let us say, about 8-10 years back, it was so difficult even to get a health cover or treatment from the hospital, and to a scenario where the industry is moving forward. But like Mr. Bhote said, still a lot to be done. What are your expectations? What is your feel with interaction of the entire body of regulator, insurance company and customers? What is that you feel that the industry should be looking at?
I think at first, because of rising medical inflation, I think customer segmentation is a step in the right direction. I mean, claims management would also be better for the HNI, for the low income group, for the middle. Some of it is already happening. Of course, specific products, and more importantly, at the at the entry in terms of using more social media, because medical emergencies, as I said earlier, come unannounced. So how to handle that? That time you search for your card. Even if your card is misplaced, you can go to you can call the call center and do. So these kind of little things, because people nowadays, I mean, Facebook, on an average, a person in India sees it for 9 hours a week, which is like more than an hour a day. So you could use these kind of applications, Facebook and other things, to demystify a lot of elements in health insurance. I think more actively, I'm talking, of course, from the reader, from the customer perspective.
Yes, Aparna, I think you've raised very relevant points in terms of how small things can make a huge difference. Suresh, are you looking at some of the things what Aparna mentioned? We are very impressed by her statement in terms of how small things can actually make a big difference to the customers from a health insurance perspective.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Apana, for this feedback. I think we are already working on this, and we always, like what I said earlier, we believed in not just delighting the customer, but connecting with him all throughout and engaging with him. Now, what we have done is based on the feedback what we have been receiving, we realized that there is a need. The customer has been kind of issues when he visits the hospital, and sometimes he's maybe in a condition where in an emergency where his family member would be taking care of the admission procedure. So what we thought that we will try to bring in the first change, small change what we brought in was introducing that attendees details in the pre-authorization form, and thereby the mobile number and other details are captured at the policy level or at least at the claim admission level, and hence the details can be sent to that person of the SMS. Number two, what we are trying to bring in is now we're already working on this project where we have a card, you just swipe it and that card will be available on your palm top or on your smartphone or your mobile phone. So that is the level to which we are going to take, and it may not take much time. Maybe by the end of next year, we will be experiencing that thing. And we as Bajaj Allianz will try to bring in that change first in the industry. It's almost, we are there now.
I'd also like to speak, Suresh, on the wellness initiative you take, because one of the passions which I think the team has been working upon is that not when you are admitted that we are there for you. We're also there for you when you are good, healthy, and we also ensure that you remain good and healthy, and we make an endeavor for that. We want to take a relationship beyond just insurance policy and claims. So, Suresh, can you talk about the wellness initiative that you initiated, about the websites that you have, how people can take second opinion, how can they consult even dietitians for losing weight, and I heard a lot of good success stories from my customers. Could you mention a bit about that also, because I think that is something good that you and your team are doing.
Sure, sir. So like relationship, like what Tapan told about the relationship beyond insurance. Yes, we always believed that it's only 10% or 9-10% customers who claim. So what about the remaining 90%? So that remaining 90%, they don't experience any claim or they don't visit any hospital. So they might go occasionally for a dental checkup or for getting any specs or for any health checkup, annual health checkup or something which they pay out of their pocket. So we always believe that these are the customers who would like to experience our services, and when they visit any of these hospitals or our tie-up centers, diagnostic centers, when they are spending 100 rupee out of their pocket, they should benefit out of this transaction. And that is how we have introduced this value-added services where we tie up with these facilities and provide them huge discounts starting from going up to 40% and 50%. Maybe many of our customers, they are now started availing these facilities, and also pharmacy discounts which can go up to 30-40%. And this is something which even the existing customer and also our customers, the group customers or the retail customers, or in our other lines, we are trying to propagate this, and we believe that if the customer is healthy, his overall experience, throughout his life will be good, and also as far as his insurance policy is concerned, the claims can be controlled.
Thank you, Suresh. I'll just take a couple of questions on the screen and then move back to the panel. I have Sam from Delhi. He mentioned that surgical protection plan is a good cover as it can act as a top-up cover on the existing policy. Please explain as to how you came up with this idea. The idea was simple, Sam. We as a company have to be very customer focused and obsessed with the customer is what we've been thinking. When we looked at the normal health policies which are there in the country, and we also looked at the amount of money which is being spent on different illness, we realized that about 46% of the claims for the industry as a whole is for viral, for gastroenteritis, for fever, and just about half of it is for surgeries. And then I was thinking about myself as a child. I never remember that me or my friends ever got admitted for viral or gastroenteritis. I think our mother's supervision and a doctor's clinic visit was taking care of it. And I was thinking that if as a common person I have to buy a health cover, what is it that and if I don't have enough money for the premium, what is the best cover that I would be looking for, and why would I be buying health cover? Then we realized it's for surgeries that a common person is actually looking for this cover. And that is how the idea came up. And we thought, why don't we cover all the surgeries which would be there? Why don't we make the product simple, that we have a sum insured which gets paid when the surgery is triggered, and it's also renewable for life, and it's also, the premium of this will be about half the cost of the normal cover which is there. That's how this idea came in, because I think one thing, as I said, as a company, for us, every is the customer, and we revolve around him or her to see what can we do more. So thank you for this question, and again, this product is very close to my heart, so I loved to answer you on this. Now, because I say customer is everything, to get back to my favorite customer and the customer's perspective, what is it, Shashimar, you would be looking for as a customer of an insurance company in terms of a health cover, or what are your greatest apprehensions, what are your greatest fear, and what do you think as insurance companies we should be addressing?
Yeah, one of the first thing which I would like to say is we are using the word demystifying the health insurance. But in reality, what happens is when a customer is looking for a health insurance, there are a lot of things he doesn't know. From a customer perspective, he thinks is when I take a health insurance, if something happens to me when I go to a hospital, everything would be taken care of. I don't have to look at anything. But if you see the process, as Dr. Bomi has rightly said, there is a lot of steps which happen, when someone is actually in the hospital. A lot of approvals happen, and it happens in the staggered manner. From a customer's perspective, if this thing can be speedified, then it will be better for the customer. The other thing which I saw is a lot of controversy has been happening in the cashless facility, if I'm not wrong. Last year there was a lot of news. Many of the hospitals have actually stopped the cashless facility. Now, this is something which insurance companies have to look into, because it's not possible every time for people to actually pay out from their pocket and then go for the claim. Okay. For example, what happened in my case is when my mom was admitted in the Aditya Birla Hospital, I paid everything through my credit card, and later on through my advisor, Mr. Sachin, I had gone for the claim. Now, every person would not be paying through a credit card, and I also do not know whether currently Aditya Birla is under the cashless facility or not. So these informations which are there is something which is missing from the customer perspective. So as a customer, he'll be looking at these basic information. If something happens, and if he's the earning member of the family and he's going to the hospital, his relatives should not run around on knowing the process and all. I'll give you one simple example. Even today in many of the hospitals, they want a Xerox copy of the the insurance card which is there. That's a very stupid thing. Why do you need that? I have an insurance card, the number, everything, details is there. Why do you need a Xerox copy? So the simple things like this, the relatives have to run around for the process and all. So as Dr. Bomi rightly said, the entire process should be smooth enough so that the customer doesn't have to think about anything. This is what a health insurance is all about, is what the customer is looking at. So this is my opinion how it should be.
No, thank you for input, I think that exactly what it has to be, a seamless experience for the customer. Otherwise, it does not work. One small statement on which I was very proud about. I think when you saw the newspaper article of a lot of hospitals withdrawing cashless from insurance companies, your company, Bajaj Allianz, was one of the rare companies where every hospital had allowed cashless. I think the more the reason is from perspective that about the payment time to the hospital, about the approval time to the hospital. I think that was one of the key issues which was there, and the company, as again Mr. Bhote mentioned, that yes, we are there and hospitals like our speed of payment to them when we approve cashless. But again, what I mentioned to Mr. Bote, that we still have a long way to go from our customers' expectation. And your expectation of the customer is right. For you, it should be seamless. If you insure with Bajaj Allianz or with any insurance company and you go to the hospital, there should be no hassle. If the last thing which you want to do when you are ill or you're going for any surgery and is the hassle of trying to figure out how to get the claim or how to get cashless on. That is one area which we have to take forward. But to be fair to the industry, if you look at the entire health portfolio, most of us will be surprised that health insurance in India is one of the late entrants. It started somewhere in 88, if I remember right, 86, 88, and then actually triggered out well in the year 2003-4 and started picking up. And the past 5-6 years, moving well. And as Aparna mentioned, right from the regulator, they are looking at how they categorize and what Mr. Bote mentioned, how do we have simple forms, how the agreement gets proper. But the speed, I think, has to improve to reach where you have mentioned. Still a long way for the industry to go, but I think my commitment again as a CEO of one of the insurance companies in India is that we should push this. Because to me, I believe for any other accident, it is still fine. The emotional trauma is not to that level. It's a physical asset, which okay, in a couple of days, it will still get better. But when a person is ill, when a person is in hospital, the emotional trauma is much, much higher. That is the place where the insurance industry should demonstrate the best of services. So I think that we have to reach there. And thank you for giving us the customer perspective that makes our focus.
Add one point. I'd like to add one point.
Yes, Aparna.
Yeah, I mean, you talked about, I think the other thing that insurance companies can tell customers is, you have an option of hospitals, because what happens many times everyone flocks to the best hospital in town. I'm not naming, but I mean, from my own experience, I knew when my dad had a fracture, the doctor there said, the orthopedic, I go to this hospital as well, you can come. So it was a little thing, and but that made a huge difference, because the ultimate thing is to have a good doctor who treats, that's the key. And good doctors have multiple practices. So, you can also tell customers, depending on their pockets and the kind of policy, that you have you don't have to go to A or B. There is a range of hospitals depending on your requirements, and doctors do, practice across hospitals. Good doctors especially have practices across multiple hospitals and clinics.
I think that gives a good idea. But I was working on the team to develop an application which can be downloaded on a smartphone, in which when a person, if he falls ill or has an accident and it triggers the application, he can know which are the hospitals close by where they can have cashless. But your point of the doctors which would be there in those hospitals, the panel, I think somewhere we should add that option also, because that would be a bit intensive, but that will also give a comfort, exactly which doctors are in which hospitals, which is closest to you, and where we have cashless, because that is something which you keep on expanding, and the customer should have right at the moment information on that. So that's a good point, and we shall definitely get all this incorporated for ease of customer. I think today I have a very good panel, and a lot of relevant issues are coming up to the front. I'll move back to my friends from Twitter and Facebook, and those who are writing straight to me. We have Harshvardhan from Pune. You have a unique product called Women Critical Illness. Why is it not marketed aggressively? Harshvardhan, you have said it right. I think one thing which we have also been trying to do is, from a woman perspective, we have been trying to take our specific policies and see what are the issues that we can help, right from a road safety product add-on that we have been giving our automobile policy, where even right from a tire burst to loss of fuel or battery counting out, the lady has not to get a car. She just sit and call our people, and they were there to change that, taking it beyond insurance. This women critical illness policy we came out very early for women-specific diseases, but there has been a good sale. I will not say it is not good, but not up to the level. So I take your point, and I also make sure that we run campaigns very aggressively to promote this, because I believe again it's a very good product that we have. Shushma, how many times your income should be for health insurance? Example, if I earn 6 lakh per annum, my health insurance should be at least how much? Shushma, income and health insurance relation is not there. The relation is on illness. So let us say if I have cancer, it's going to cost me minimum 25-30 lakh rupees if I'm going to have a normal surgery, how much will it cost? And that is how you structure the health cover, as I mentioned at the beginning of the Hangout. If I actually look at it, just to give you a perspective of the cost, let us say if I take a health guard for about 2 lakh rupees, surgical protection for about 10 lakhs and a critical illness for about 20 lakhs on top of it. The entire cost of all this put together for a person of about 30 years would not be more than 10,000 rupees a year, Rama?
Something like that.
Yeah, about 10,000 rupees a year, which if I translate to per month is less than about 800 rupees. And if I translate to per day, you can actually see it will be less than the snacks and tea that we have. But for just that kind of premium, you're protected for the entire spectrum of illness. And if something goes wrong, it is just there that nothing wipes out our saving or create that stress among our family members as to how do we get the money. So everything else I've seen, people still would like to negotiate, get the best bargain. In fact, we as Indians are known to be good bargain hunters. So, there's this popular joke which also went when some person was bargaining at the road and this guy got irritated and said, take it free. Then the person said, why not give me 2 then? So something like that. But when it comes to health, I don't see any bargaining. That point in time, people are ready to pay out the best for the treatment that is there for the loved ones. And that is why it's very essential to have the good range of cover. So unlike a personal accident cover, this is not linked to your salary. I would recommend that you have it. If there are any issues, you can approach any of our advisors or write to us. We'll be very happy to tell you how to structure your health cover. There is one from Harshvardhan again. Please discuss why group health policy offered by employer is not sufficient alternative to individual standalone health policy. Now I want to take this.
Yeah. I think one of the things that we need to look at in case of a group health policy is that if you were to change your employer, the chances of you being out of cover for a maybe temporary period of time is going to be high. And if during the intervening period, if you are going to have any illness or accident or any other major surgery, you will not be protected. So it is always been in your own interest to ensure that you have a cover which is not fully dependent upon your employer. We have seen many cases where there have been gap in cover and people had to shell out a lot of money for covering their medical expenses. So I would not ideally suggest that this is the right way. It is always ideal to have a small cover maybe of 2 lakh rupees or 3 lakh rupees, which can actually take care of these kind of emergencies, which could come anytime without you really knowing about it. So that's where it won't work if you don't have an individual cover separately.
Again, the interesting question has come from Manobala.
Yeah.
As you mentioned, can I take 2 health insurance policies? How will I make a claim in that scenario? I think that would be then in the top of mind of most of my customers. Would you like to take that?
Yeah. Actually, if it is being taken from the same insurance company, it is not going to make much of a difference. But if you're going to have 2 health policies with different insurance companies, the principle of contribution will apply. Which means that only to the claim will be settled by each company % of the sum insured that is covered by them. It could become a bit more complicated. The better idea would be if you can actually have a cover for standard health cover and then there is a top-up cover or there is a surgical protection cover, which can actually increase the overall coverage and lead to less complication.
There is one from Professor Matuknath. What are the steps Bajaj Allianz has taken to ensure that the mis-selling is reduced? That's a very good question, Professor. I think typically in general insurance as a whole, the chances of mis-selling is lower because the products are simpler and people are aware about it. In health, the biggest mis-selling, if I may use the word so, happens because of the concept of pre-existing disease. I think at times the customers are not aware that the pre-existing disease is not covered, and they take a health cover, and immediately after that, in a couple of months' time, they are admitted, and obviously that triggers that clause. So if I have to rate dissatisfaction on customers or dissatisfied customers, 95% would be because of this pre-existing clause which is there in the insurance company's contract. Now, typically, as a customer, one thing that if we take care is that we understand that the illness which is already there would not get covered by any insurance company as such, and that is something which should be excluded. And they have a waiting period. Some have 2 years, some have 4 years. And in that, if some illness has got developed or has been there and been declared in the proposal form, then there will not be an issue. So the proposal form or the contract, the basis of contract which is to be filled up by the customer. If as a customer we ask the agent that that is something which we shall fill up on our own and sign that document, and where we have declared all the material facts, then the policy of the contract is given or provided to you will ensure that you are fully aware of what is covered, what is not covered. So on our side, when we have a case of mis-selling, we take it up very strongly with our advisors. But again, I would say I'm lucky if I look at the number of grievances that we have at the company among the least among the industry, and the chances of mis-selling by my advisor are less, but still there. But if we find out one case, it's sure that our senior team members speak to the advisors and speak to the customer and ensure that this is not happening. But as I said, in health, the only chance of mis-selling or lack of information is on the pre-existing diseases. Rest, I think it has been a clear case that customer are aware what is happening. But a good question, Professor. I see we're running out of time now, though this is one topic which we could talk about the whole day. Any last question from the panel before we thank everybody and move on?
Insurance in the urban area as cities is pretty much good. But when you go into the rural area where actually the need of health insurance is more, is something which is still lagging behind. So would like to know your plans, how you actually plan to, cater the people around in the rural area basically.
That again I would say is one of the preview to the new product that we are designing. See, rural area, one thing that I've seen is okay for minor illness or for small surgeries, we have reasonably okay infrastructure. But where the customer actually requires very good healthcare, they have to move to the cities and be taken to some of the good hospitals, and that has to be done fast. We are actually thinking of a product as to how do we ensure that the transportation cost, or maybe somebody is in places like Northeast, if the transportation is, let us say, even by moving him by an aircraft or something to the nearest best hospital, or from the rural side to the city, how do we build that product and how do we take? Because to me, the issue is not about just providing some health cover in the rural side. It is about providing the best of health cover to all my customers. And that is one product we are working on, So I'm perfectly fine to share what we're working on, because I want every insurance company in the industry to think about how do we cater to these issues, how do we come out products. I always say there is no competition in the field of insurance because the penetration of insurance in India is very low. It is about 0.78, 79, one of the lowest in the world. In fact, you'll be surprised that even countries like Malaysia, Indonesia would be doing better than us in terms of penetration. So we have enough scope to do a lot of things, enough scope to focus on customers, come out with good products which cater to these issues for the customer. So thank you very much. And I'd like to thank my panel. I think we had an amazing discussion and very good inputs. And as a company, it's our endeavor and our commitment that we shall be taking your feedback very seriously. And to all my friends on the Twitter and Facebook who sent in the queries across, we'll be ensuring that we take it all in. And this should be our guiding principle in terms of how do we look at health insurance and going forward. Thank you very much for your time, and it was a pleasure interacting with all of you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you.